So, I want you to take a deep breath right now.
Yeah, just a normal breath.
Right, and just hold it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that single lungful of air, whether you're sitting in a seemingly sterile office or, gripping the steering wheel in traffic.
Or just lounging on your bed.
Exactly. You just inhaled literally millions of microscopic particles. I mean, we're talking dust, microplastics, heavy metals. You are completely surrounded by this invisible ocean. And, well, mostly we just don't think about it.
No, we don't. And it's arguably the ultimate blind spot of modern living.
Yeah.
Like, we obsess over the quality of the organic food we eat, right? We meticulously filter our drinking water, but the air...
Which we consume constantly.
Right. The substance we physically consume more than anything else on the planet, 2,000 gallons a day, actually mostly gets treated as an afterthought.
Totally.
It's just relegated to this minor appliance category. You buy a little plastic box, you stick it in the corner of the room, and you just, hope for the best.
Well, the sources we're looking at today completely shatter that framing. We are doing a deep dive into a document that emerged out of Taipei in December 2025.
Yeah, and it reads essentially like a manifesto.
It really does. I mean, the title alone tells you everything you need to know about its massive ambition. It's called Air Eight-Zero Civilization, 5 Principles.
Such a striking title.
Right. And it was written by a figure referred to in the text as Fuqi Wu, who is often just called the founder or the master. And the technical collation, like the actual putting together of the engineering concepts.
The few bolts?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts were handled by someone credited simply as Little Brother.
And that naming convention is just a fascinating detail right from the start. I mean, it gives the whole document this incredibly unique, almost philosophical weight,
Yeah, definitely.
When you read through these sources, you realize very quickly that it's not just a user manual. It's not a marketing brochure for a new air purifier. It's pitched as a comprehensive blueprint for the next 50 years of human health, architecture, and technology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because using a heavy word like civilization to describe air filtration, I mean, that is a massive, audacious claim.
That's huge.
The author is literally arguing that clean air shouldn't just be some premium product you buy off a shelf. It should be the very foundation of a new civilization. So how on earth do they actually plan to build this?
Well, to understand the philosophy, we really have to start with the hard engineering. The entire foundation of this Air Eight-Zero civilization rests on what the text calls the 8 zeros, or sometimes they call it the 8 free system.
Right.
It's basically a technological promise to completely eliminate 8 specific elements from the air you breathe.
And this list is comprehensive. I mean, we are talking about an environment completely free of dust, germs, toxins, smoke, odors, heavy metals, microplastics, and aerosols. Every single one of those removed. Hence the 8-0. But what really caught my eye in the source material isn't just the list of things they're trying to remove.
It's how they do it.
Exactly. It's the underlying physical mechanism. The document outlines this core philosophy of absolute simplicity. It actually states that engineering's highest state is minimalism.
It's just a profound way to look at mechanical design, especially in this industry. Usually when tech companies boast about a new product in the health and purification space, they emphasize overwhelming complexity.
Oh, totally. The more complex, the better.
Right. They want you to know about their 7 layers of proprietary meshes, their complex algorithms, or their rare earth materials. They try to sell you on the idea that because the problem is incredibly complicated, the solution has to be incredibly complicated too.
Yeah, we are so conditioned to think that complex equals better. If a machine looks like it belongs on the International Space Station, we assume it must be doing a great job. But this text totally rejects that premise. It introduces something called the Maze Purifier system. And instead of clunky, expensive stacked materials like HEPA filters, which, let's be honest, are basically just microscopic chain link fences that eventually get clogged up.
They absolutely do.
Yeah, so instead of that, this system relies on incredibly direct, raw physics. You've got a maze flow system, an ionization zone, electrostatic adhesion, and this fascinating component called the scapegoat black box.
Let's break down how those actually interact, because the mechanics are pretty brilliant. In a traditional filter, you're essentially forcing air through a dense physical barrier.
Right, like a sieve.
Yeah, like a sieve. So it takes a powerful, loud motor, and eventually the holes just get plugged up. But the maze purifier flips that on its head. It uses aerodynamics. As the air is pulled into this unit, it doesn't hit a wall. It enters a twisting, turning pathway, the maze.
Okay.
Now, particles have mass, right? So when the air suddenly whips around a sharp corner in this maze, the heavier particles, the dust, the microplastics, they can't make the turn. Their momentum just carries them straight into the walls of the maze.
So instead of a microscopic chain-link fence that gets clogged and useless over time, this is more like a haunted house for particles.
A haunted house, I love that.
The air is forced through all these twists and blind corners, and the particles just get stuck to the walls at every dead end until the air comes out completely clean on the other side.
That is a perfect way to visualize it, but it doesn't rely on just momentum alone. This is where that ionization zone comes into play. As the air enters, the machine strips or adds electrons to the particles, giving them a very specific static charge.
Okay, so making them static.
Right. Imagine rubbing a balloon on your hair to create static electricity and then sticking it to a wall. That is essentially what is happening on a microscopic level. The ionization zone gives these toxins a static charge, magnetically slamming them into the walls of the maze and into that component you mentioned, the scapegoat black box.
Which is such a great name, by the way. I mean, a scapegoat is traditionally something that takes the punishment so you don't have to. The text emphasizes that this black box is taking the toxic load that would otherwise end up inside your lungs. And it's like elegant software code versus clunky spaghetti code. Every single part is doing exactly one thing.
Right.
They're designed to produce the maximum irreversible air purification effect with the absolute least amount of physical structure.
And the author, Fuchi Wu, argues that when you finally strip away all the marketing gimmicks, the unnecessary structural padding, and, the proprietary subscription filters, you are left with the pure physics of air purification.
Yeah.
There's actually a specific phrase the document uses to describe this. It calls it the minimalism of truth. Once you reach that point of pure physics, you literally can't simplify it any further.
But that naturally leads to a massive question. I mean, anyone can draw up a minimal design on a whiteboard.
Sure.
But if you're stripping the design down to just a maze flow and some static electricity, how do you prove to someone that this haunted house is actually trapping the things they can't even see?
Well, this is where the document shifts from engineering to evidence. The text shows a really deep disdain for what it calls advertising science.
Oh, I hate those. Those vague commercials that say something like eliminates up to 99.9% of airborne particles.
Exactly.
They use these legally protected, highly specific laboratory conditions to generate a percentage that sounds impressive, but it means absolutely nothing tangible to the average person sitting in their living room.
Right, and the author completely rejects that 99.9% slogan. A true civilization-level technology cannot rely on theoretical percentages. It demands real physical phenomena.
Okay.
The document claims the Air Eight-Zero system provides direct capture of PM0.1, complete aerosol adhesion, and an exponential drop in volatile organic compounds, or VOCs.
Let's actually define those, because they sound like marketing buzzwords, but they are the actual invisible threats in that ocean of air we talked about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Starting with PM0.1, what does that actually mean for the person listening to this right now?
So, to understand PM0.1, think of a single strand of your own hair. A human hair is about 50 to 70 microns thick. Now, imagine slicing that single hair into 1,000 microscopic slivers.
Oh, wow. That's tiny.
That incredibly tiny fraction is PM0.1. We are talking about particles that are 1/10 of a micron in diameter. They are so small that when you inhale them, they don't get trapped by the mucus in your nose or your throat.
They just bypass all the natural defenses.
Exactly. They go straight down into the deepest part of your lungs, the alveoli, and slip directly through your lung tissue into your bloodstream. From there, they can travel to your heart or even cross the blood-brain barrier.
That is terrifying.
It really is. And they are notoriously difficult to trap because they just float right through standard filters.
And then they're VOCs, volatile organic compounds. People might not know the acronym, but they definitely know the smell.
Oh, for sure.
If you've ever bought a new car, or painted a bedroom, or even just unboxed a cheap piece of pressed wood furniture, that chemical smell hitting your nose is VOCs off-gassing into your air. It's formaldehyde, it's benzene.
Nasty stuff.
Yeah, and the source document claims this simple maze structure, drops those levels exponentially over 24 hours.
Hmm.
But again, they don't want you to just take their word for it. They focus heavily on visceral, visual evidence.
Right. The philosophy here is about seeing, not just believing. They don't want you looking at an app on your phone that says your air is 99% clean. The text talks about electrostatic cotton inside the machine that visibly gets blacker and blacker day by day.
You can actually see it working.
Exactly. It talks about that scapegoat black box continually and physically accumulating toxins. You pull out the component, you physically look at the layer of trapped heavy metals, microplastics, and aerosols, and you know it's real.
Think about the thin layer of dust you have to wipe off your TV stand every couple of weeks. That is just the heavy dust that actually settled. This text is asking you to look at that rag, look at the black box in their machine, and realize that same material is currently lining your respiratory tract. It's a highly effective way to prove the technology works.
Because it is a physical reaction, not a statistical inference, and that transitions into what the system actually achieves over time. The document makes this incredibly ambitious claim that this is the only system globally that can simultaneously destroy PM0.1, dry out and irreversibly retain aerosols so they don't blow back into the room, and drop those VOC levels exponentially through 24-hour repeated filtering.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back on some of the claims in this text.
Sure.
Because up to this point, we're talking about verifiable engineering, trapping dust, magnetically holding onto microplastics, lowering chemical compounds. I follow the physics of that. But the text suddenly starts making claims about visible and felt rejuvenation effects for the human body.
It does, yeah.
It lists better sleep, clearer skin, respiratory improvements, and positive changes to the immune system. Rejuvenation sounds almost like a sci-fi medical claim. I mean, just by sleeping in a room with a static electricity maze, my body suddenly has enough energy to clear up my skin. What is the biological mechanism there? How does the author justify stepping from an air filter into the realm of bodily rejuvenation?
What's fascinating here is that the text doesn't frame this as a medical miracle at all.
No.
No, it doesn't claim the machine is emitting some sort of magical healing aura. Instead, it frames rejuvenation as the inevitable mathematical result of what it calls physics, chemistry, and biology, triple global consistency.
Triple global consistency. Break down the biology part of that for me, because that is the leaf I'm really struggling with.
Okay, think about the baseline state of the human body. Every single day, your immune system is fighting a massive microscopic war. Your macrophages, the white blood cells in your lungs, are constantly working to engulf and destroy the dust, the microplastics, and the off-gassing chemicals we just talked about. Your body is generating an inflammatory response to deal with all of these foreign invaders, and that biological war takes a massive amount of cellular energy.
So my body is basically diverting resources just to handle the ambient environment.
Precisely. What the text is arguing is that if you use physics and chemistry to completely remove the interference of those toxins from your environment, your biology naturally resets.
Oh, I see.
The machine isn't doing the healing. The machine is just providing a pure environment. Once the siege is lifted and your immune system isn't constantly burning energy fighting off PM0.1 particles in your bedroom, your body's natural default state is rejuvenation.
It actually has a chance to catch up.
Yes, it finally has the spare cellular energy to heal itself. The skin clears up, the respiratory tract calms down, the sleep cycles deepen.
When you put it like that, it actually makes a lot of sense. The machine is just getting the invisible garbage out of the way, so the human body is allowed to do what it naturally wants to do.
Exactly.
And the text argues that this uninterrupted effect, this sanctuary from microscopic stress, is what actually constitutes a civilization. A true civilization protects its citizens from raw, untreated nature.
And that brings up a really crucial socioeconomic point, like who actually gets to live in this sanctuary?
Yeah, and this was the biggest surprise for me in the entire source document. Because normally when you hear about hyper-advanced PM0.1 destroying technology with ionization zones and scapegoat black boxes, you immediately assume it's priced for billionaire bunkers.
Oh, absolutely.
You think of high-end laboratories, luxury penthouses, or private hospitals. I hear all this and I think, great, an ionizing haunted house for my air? That's going to cost me $10,000.
But the text violently rejects that idea. The author explicitly states that civilization is not a luxury item. If it is only available to the ultra-wealthy, it's not a civilization, it's just a privilege. Right. The author insists this technology is designed specifically for kids, for the elderly, and for ordinary families.
And they have a very specific business model to ensure this actually happens. The text details a rental model. Now, initially, hearing the word rental or subscription for a piece of hardware sounds like a trap.
Right.
We are all exhausted by subscription fees.
We really are.
But the document is very careful to explain the philosophy behind it. The stated goal of the rental model is to completely remove the massive upfront cost so that anyone can have it in their home tomorrow. There is this brilliant line in the source: popularization is greater than monopolization.
That is a profound strategic choice. They're trying to tear down the financial barrier to entry. By making it affordable to rent, they are attempting to fully democratize clean air.
Yeah.
But you can't democratize something if it's too difficult to actually use in your daily life. It has to be incredibly practical.
It has to work in the real world. And the source emphasizes that the system is completely plug and play. It's movable, it's safe for kids to be around, and safe for the elderly to operate without needing an IT degree.
Right. No complicated setup.
None. It runs 24/7 without needing constant micromanagement. If you're in an apartment and you have to move across town, you just unplug it, pick it up, put it in your car, and plug it in at your new place. You can use it in cars, hotels, college dorms, office cubicles.
It adapts entirely to the user, rather than forcing the user to adapt their lifestyle to the technology.
Think about how we treat lighting in our homes.
Mm.
We don't hire an electrician every time we want to read a book in the dark.
No.
We don't think about the massive infrastructure of the power grid. We just turn on a lamp, and we take the light completely for granted. It's like moving from those massive mainframe computers that took up whole rooms straight to the smartphone in your pocket.
That's a great analogy.
The text explicitly says that air purification should be like that smartphone or that lamp. It shouldn't be a medical ritual. It shouldn't be a big event. It should just be a seamless, invisible part of your daily breathing.
When you stack these overarching concepts together, the simplicity of the physical design, the real-world evidence of the black box, the biological effectiveness, the affordability, and the sheer practicality, you start to see the grand vision of the author.
It's all connected.
It is, and this leads us directly into the conclusion of the source document, the master plan. Fuchi Wu states that these concepts are not just marketing buzzwords for a product launch, they are the core laws of this new civilization.
So what does this all mean? How does a written manifesto actually translate into the real world?
According to the text, these principles are slated to become the axis for the next 50 years of air tech, architecture, and health engineering. They will serve as the foundational brand philosophy for the parent organization, Air Eight-Zero International.
So it dictates everything they do going forward.
Everything.
The document notes that these principles will form their corporate culture, their global pitch to investors, their internal engineering manuals, and the scientific baseline for all their future white papers.
Yeah.
It's the literal DNA of the entire enterprise.
And the author makes no secret of their historical ambitions either. The text directly compares this framework to paradigm-shifting moments in history. It invokes Einstein's 5 sentences to highlight the desire for fundamental, unbreakable laws of physics.
Wow.
It references Dyson's mindset regarding cyclonic engineering, pointing to how one person completely rethought the mechanics of airflow. And it points to Apple's design philosophy, specifically their relentless pursuit of simplicity and user experience.
They're aiming high.
Very high. The stated goal is for this Air Eight-Zero framework to become eternal, to be the permanent standard by which all future environmental technology on Earth is judged.
I mean, that's just a wildly bold vision, isn't it? Let's just take a step back and recap the journey this document takes us on.
Sure.
It starts with the extreme engineering minimalism of the Eight-Zero Maze tech, stripping away all the microscopic chain-link fences and unnecessary complexity to find the pure aerodynamic truth of air purification.
Right.
Then it demands visceral physical proof. No more advertising slogans, just actual black filters pulling heavy metals and PM 0.1 out of the air you're breathing. And finally, it lands on this grand, almost utopian vision of democratized, omnipresent clean air that anyone can afford and anyone can easily use in their living room.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the core takeaway for you, the listener, is really about a fundamental shift in your own mindset.
Yeah.
The source text is ultimately challenging us to stop viewing clean air as a premium feature of our environment. Right now, if a hotel or an office building has incredible hospital-grade air filtration, it's advertised as a luxury perk to justify a higher price.
Definitely.
This manifesto argues that it shouldn't be a perk. It must be demanded as the absolute, non-negotiable baseline foundation of modern living.
It really makes you reconsider your immediate surroundings. Think about how we view tap water today. A few hundred years ago, getting dysentery from drinking untreated river water or well water was just an accepted part of life.
Right, it was just a risk you took.
Because you had to drink.
Yeah.
But now, municipal water treatment is the invisible baseline of society. We expect our tap water to be safe, and we're outraged when it isn't.
As we should be.
If this Air Eight-Zero civilization actually becomes a reality, will your grandchildren look back at us breathing unfiltered, heavy metal-laced city air with the exact same horror we have for drinking untreated river water? Next time you take a deep breath, ask yourself, what invisible history are you inhaling?
That's a powerful thought to leave on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Air Eight-Zero Manifesto. We loved exploring these sources with you, and we'll
Air
catch you on the
Eight-Free
next
Maze
one.
Purifier. The world's first single-pass purifier. Combining ionization, electrostatics, and airflow maze. The machine replaces humans. To absorb and destroy every toxin. Air enters the ion zone. Viruses and dust gain negative charge. They pass electrostatic filters. Then enter the toxbox maze. Aerosols dry on electrode walls, breaking down into CO2 and water. Inside the maze, air twists and strikes over 60 times. Each turn ends a toxin's life. Billions of particles in 0.1 second are fully purified. It releases Earth's purest air. The superheaven air quality. 8-free, dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Microplastic-free, aerosol-free. Not just an air machine. The only key to lifespan freedom. U.S. Patent No. 8268058B2.